that there's a difference between digital literacy and ICT literacy. ICT literacy is, for instance, can I do Microsoft Word, etc. Digital literacy is actually, can I make sense out of the information on all of the internet and the sources? We need digital literacy for all of our citizens. No exceptions, and it will be one of the critical ones that we will have to pursue. Because with AI, it's actually, the fear is actually it's making people dumber. It's not becoming more intelligent because we're going to rely on that information that we're getting from ChatGPT as the truth. So this is amongst the AI developers one of the biggest fears. And how we combat that is actually through that digital literacy. So one of the things, so that has definitely a place. And then on the evolution of programs, or how do we actually ensure that we stay up to date, etc. CS programs, for instance, have to evolve. If they haven't evolved yet, then I don't know. But in the universities, for instance, in a degree program, you have a 20% sort of, what do you call it? Yes, discretionary, where you can add your new modules in already. You can already start to pivot and bring in those new modules that should be taught. Remember also that, for instance, computer science or computing is a type of, we have like the model curricula that is set by the ACM and by the IEEE that you have to adhere to if you want to articulate or work internationally, etc. So we don't live like, you know, in a silo, would I say. So there are means and measures to do that. However, even if you have that, there are short courses that you need to introduce. You cannot only rely on the degree programs, but you have to do like finishing school type of courses. This is why I was using the example of coding academies that is actually being established in East and in West Africa, Rwanda, Kenya, Ghana, etc., everywhere else, and it's like a BTC. And that one is where they are going to gain in-depth skills, for instance, on AI as well. Use AI to help you with curriculum transformation, help you with how do we get the accreditation process to go faster, how do we get, etc. So with that, I want to say, use AI as an aid, right? Because otherwise, you can't rely on it completely, you can also not ignore it. But use it, you know, to help you in your work as an aid. And that is actually in businesses where they have it that many businesses have to upskill their people. So that's the other question as well. Who is going to provide that service? So there's a lot of opportunities also for entrepreneurs, I think. Then there's the whole issue of online courses. Right now, majority of the youth, and even the ones you are teaching, they are all getting their information and their lessons and their courses from books, from online learning or online courses. So start with micro-credentialing. I know that one of the universities has already started on that process, but get recognition of those type of industry specific certifications, even if it's done online. Work out what are the criteria, etc. So I think that there's a lot to be done. One of the things is that if you had looked at the revision of Vision 2030, you'll see that in the gap analysis, ICT is one of the big focus areas now. That's going to feature in NDP 6 as well as we're developing that. But one of the Harvard Growth Lab had made a sort of an analysis and said that Namibia is very well suited to develop a service industry, like an ICT service industry. In other words, we can train the software engineers, etc. here, they can do the work from here, and we can supply the whole of the world with it. So that's what came out. But remember also, we need to improve and increase our tech startups. And that's oftentimes where you will do some on-the-job training as well for them. But tech startups, remember what I said about the barriers, on trade barriers? That's going to be your biggest headache on that. Then, on skills in general, you know, and employers and so on, there were several reasons mentioned. So there wasn't just one thing, that it's only this or so. I already said that universities, for instance, teach the fundamentals, the core competencies. And I use the example, if you teach programming, you can maybe use a language, but you have to teach the concept. So if somebody goes out and tomorrow they have to change from Ruby, you know, to Python, whatever, then they can easily change, and that happens obviously all the time. And yes, employers have to understand that this we also took up with them. They cannot have ready-made people working with them, but it was also the time, the length in time, and all of the competencies that they suddenly had to teach. And then, of course, soft skills are extremely important in that as well, as alluded to. On an advisory committee, I think that is a challenge that I unfortunately don't have an answer for. If they send the wrong person and the same company comes back and says that, but why did you do this? I don't have an answer for that. Thank you.